The Final Destination was incredibly successful, in fact the most successful film in the franchise, so that means that it couldn't be the final movie, and 2 years later another movie in the franchise was made. This movie was the first time in the franchise since the second movie that a completely new writer and director were brought onto the film. They decided that instead of just filling the film up with death scenes without any real substance around it, to focus heavily on the story and characters too. What we got is not only a huge improvement over the previous movie, but also, in my opinion, the best movie in the entire series. The movie is actually different for once and doesn't just do exactly what has been done before. A group of work colleagues are going away together on a company retreat. However, on the way the bridge collapses and all but one of them die. You know the drill, it was a premonition and one of the main characters save everyone. Then all these characters die. However, an interesting new mechanic is added into this film. Similar to in the previous movies how you could get death to skip you in the line, in this film you can pass your death on to someone else. If you kill someone, then death skips you in the line and you essentially get the life that they were supposed to have. This is actually really interesting and pretty cool. They also utilise it really well. One of the main characters, Peter, essentially loses his mind after his girlfriend dies, so he decides to go after Sam, the main character of the film, and steal his life. This section of the film is really good. It adds an extra layer of suspense and is actually pretty scary at times. This film as a whole is pretty scary at times. The previous two movies especially like to give you false almost deaths a few times. You expect someone is going to die one way, but then they switch it around and do it a different way. They became way too stupid. However, in this film they did it really well because the tension builds up quite a bit to the point where it can be unbearable at times. There is an amazing scene in a room where one of the characters is training for a gymnastics competition. This scene is really well edited and shot, so you are constantly on edge. You keep expecting her to die and the suspense builds and builds and builds until it finally happens. The death scenes in the film are no longer stupid or ridiculous and are actually pretty messed up and disgusting. Instead of just using barrels of blood, this movie has actually got really detailed gore. This makes everything look much more realistic and it makes the death scenes all the more hard to watch. The characters in the film are for the first time in the whole series actually interesting. The acting, although may not be Oscar worthy, was all pretty good. The effects in the movie are all fantastic. The previous movie had some of the most lackluster CGI to come from a big budget movie in years. This movie is a huge improvement. The bridge sequence at the beginning is absolutely amazing. The effects still really hold up today, although it's only been 5 years, so there haven't actually been that many changes when it comes to CGI. I had not seen this film since the day it came out, so I was quite happy to see that it held up really well and was just as good as I remembered it being. When I saw it in the cinema, I loved it. The 3D, although was not great, did not look as bad as some of the other movies I've seen in 3D. For some reason, this film remains to date the only horror movie I've seen in the cinema. This is mainly because of the fact there haven't been many horror movies that I've really wanted to see that badly recently. When a film comes out in the franchise I love, like Friday the 13th, I'll go, but otherwise I'll just wait till the DVD. Anyway, Final Destination 5 is in my opinion a really good horror movie and definitely the best in the franchise. It takes the series in a darker and scarier direction, yet still manages to keep the over-the-top death scenes too. Plus there are a few really funny scenes in there too. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. And that concludes the Final Destination series, my first series review in 6 months. After this month I'm going to get straight back into regular series reviews. I've got a few ideas for reviews already, so hopefully I can get one done as soon as possible. Of course I do have 2 trilogies that are technically horror movie series reviews too, so I've also got those in this month. Now to rank the series from worst to best. Number 5, The Final Destination. Number 4, Final Destination. Number 3, Final Destination 2. Number 2, Final Destination 3, and the number 1 and best in the franchise is Final Destination 5. Now that we've done that, let's get back into the normal reviews until I review the 2 trilogies I have planned to review later on in the month.